Full of flavor, no if or no maybe. Malta my crave on a daily. I couldn't ask for a better cold glass. Coffee can't pass from this. My Malta, my pocket with me. You know my got it with me. I feel have a buckle for myself. Yesterday the shop locked, so today me come back. 2 new flavors on the shelf. Me say me see it and me grab it and me love it and buy it. My mommy take it and she pull it and try it. She say Malta in the morning, afternoon or night. And she finish it, she don't need no help. Drink them more. Coffee or vanilla, the Jamaican original. Have it with my lunch and my dinner. Ginseng with the ginger, make you settle and you simmer. Good for the baller and the singer. Make you feel good and it tastes real nice. Better when cool, so we put it on ice. Take a sip once, if you take a sip twice. Mother full of flavor for life. Mother full of flavor for life. Full of flavor, no if or no maybe. Malta my crave on a daily.
All right. Greetings, everybody. Greetings. I know you all been waiting. We are here live in living colors, if you ask me. Now, why me look so? Tell me. Can anybody tell me why we have this color? We are whiter than snow. But greetings, everybody. Welcome. It's 7:51. We started at 7:30, right? But as you would have it, we had a little bit of technical difficulty getting this thing up and running, but we are up. We are ready. We are live. Tell your friend, tell your neighbor that we are live in living colors. This evening is going to be an exciting little discussion. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. See if I can get the screen up and running. But yeah, Anthony, how you doing, my brother? Morris, what's going on with you? Annette, Amy, y'all are logging in pretty early. I love that. Chuck Finley, you're in the building. I see Renz. I see Joe. I see everybody's in the building. Greetings, everybody. Welcome. Share the program. Tell a friend. Tweet a friend. As we always say, tell them we're on. We're live in living colors. Claudette, I see you. War Room West, I see you. Nelly, I see you. Everybody over there on TikTok, big up yourself. And all of my folks over on YouTube, thank you for taking us up to that 1,000 mark. Y'all did excellent. So we are officially at 1,000 and we are growing. So thank you to everybody. This evening, we are slated to speak with Dr. Nadine Spence, who, of course, is no stranger to the block. She's been here before, and we always love to have her on because she'll give us a good understanding of any cause or concern that we have. She's always going to open our eyes to the facts and to the truth. We're also slated to be joined by Kevin O'Brien Chung. Everybody knows Kevin. Kevin is a political commentator, an analyst. He's a historian, you name it. Kevin is a long-time Jamaican who shares the same thing that all of us share, a love for this country. Al Reed, I see you. Big up yourself. Good to see you. And Lillian Hardy, welcome. Anthony, my good friend, how you doing, my brother? I trust that all is well. To music over there in Atlanta. Devon, what's going on? Devon Mack, good to see you. I trust that all my friends over in New York. City so big, they name it twice. My folks from New York, they're in the building. And when New York is in the building, you know we have to say it twice. New York, city so big, they name it twice. They are in the building. So big up yourself, my friends over there in New York. My friends over in New Jersey. I see some New Jersey folks are in the building. Big up yourself. Glad to have you. I see my friends over in South Florida. Can't do without South Florida. You know South Florida is mini Jamaica, right? South Florida is just like Jamaica. When you're in South Florida, you're in downtown Kingston, you're in Portmore, you're in Patrick City, you're in just about everywhere in Jamaica. When you're in South Florida, you really don't miss much about Jamaica. So share the program, folks. Tell a friend, tweet a friend, call everyone, tell them we're on, we're live, and we're going to be speaking with a few folks that you would want to hear. Uh, we have on our little promo, we talk about the article in the Gleaner this morning that suggests that there's a Dan Anderson poll showing that the Jamaica Labour Party and we're not going into the hardcore politics. We're going to look at some numbers and talk about the other stuff. There's the education system that is popular right now, and there's a lot of violence in school. I know Dr. Spence will give us her insight on that as well, and I know Kevin will also weigh in on that. But first, we want to look at the poll numbers that suggest that the Jamaica Labour Party seem to have regained some level of confidence from the electorate. So we want to jump into that a little bit. Kevin Walters, what's going on? I see my good friend Dwight Crawford. Councillor Crawford is in the building. Pick up yourself. Yeah, good to see you, Dwight. And all my friends in the North Central Clarendon folks are in the building as well. I see Central Westmoreland is in the building. I see folks from Trelawney Southern is in the building, and all over. So once you join, folks, tell us where you're coming from, and we can give a shout out to your constituency, your parish, your division, your community, wherever you're hailing us from. So we're still waiting for our good friend Kevin to join us, but in the meantime, we're going to bring on our good friend Dr. Nadine Spence. Doc, how are you?
That mic wasn't on. I'm good. How are you?
I am very well. Good to see you. How has life been for you?
Good, mostly good. Mostly good. I can't complain. I have nothing to complain about.
That's great. Sometimes we take life for granted, and
yes.
We tend to answer the negative when we're asked these questions because we don't understand how good it is just to be here, because there's so many persons who are not here right now who were just here yesterday or a few days ago. So we have a lot to give thanks for. Thank you for joining us. I know you have sometimes a busy schedule, but this Sunday evening we can relax and talk some.
Yeah, I'm relaxing a bit this Sunday evening.
There you go. Well, I know you would have seen the article in the Sunday paper referring to the Dan Anderson poll showing that the governing Jamaica Labour Party has somewhat gained some grounds or extend what they had before in terms of favorability against the opposition. How do you view that one?
I mean, the politics is all about the ebbs and flows. It's all about how you are commandeering your presence in, especially social media nowadays, and how you are controlling the narrative. You can always tell how a party or any entity is going to be perceived by how they are positioning themselves in the media and what the story says about them. What are the descriptors that are used to describe them for the average voter? And since elections, the JLP has been showing up differently in the media and the commentary about them. I think they've been managing their image better. They've been providing more explanation where there was doubt, because I think before the last elections, a lot of questions were asked that they didn't answer. There were a lot of gaps in some stories that they didn't provide the information on, and so I think the PNP was able to fill in the gaps. They're not
with whatever they want to fill it with.
With whatever, yeah, the PNP successfully filled in the gaps because the JLP wasn't really talking for whatever reason. And I think they're recognizing now that they have to fill in the gaps. They have to not leave incomplete stories out there. They cannot. This idea that we're doing the work and we want you to see us do the work and then we're not going to pay attention to the narrative, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. And so they're gaining ground, I think, because they're getting ahead of the stories now and controlling some of the narratives. And the JLP also scored a lot of own goals. I don't know if they understand how much things play out in the
And that's a
public
popular
space. Huh? You said
No,
something?
that's a popular argument we've been hearing over the last year about the own goal. It's been a popular
they did a lot.
argument that we've been hearing.
That quarrel with the Integrity Commission was uncalled
Yeah.
for. You can't win certain fights no matter what you do. You know, it's like you get caught in a corner, you know you're in the right, but you can't position yourself in a particular. You just can't. You can't win the quarrel, even though you might think that I have the upper hand. You cannot win the quarrel if you go in there and become defensive. You just can't. Yeah, you can't. And when you are the government, you can't operate like you're not the government.
I think, and that was yeah. Well, we have Kevin O'Brien with us. Kevin, how you doing? Welcome, man.
Hi, everything good?
How you doing, Kevin? Greetings.
Giving thanks.
Yes, man. So far, thank you for
Kevin.
joining us.
Yeah, man.
So I was looking, Kevin. We're looking at the Gleaner article this morning that is suggesting that the JLP either, I don't know how you interpret it, if it's regaining grounds or extending what was there before. Don't know how you explain it, but it seemed to me like there's some positive there. And Dr. Spence was alluding to the fact that she has observed some changes in how the party filling in the gaps that existed last year. How do you see that?
Oh, the JLP?
Yes.
The JLP talking?
Yes.
Yes, the JLP there's one fundamental problem the JLP has. It's not listening to the people. It's listening to a bunch of talking heads who have zero support on the ground. They are not listening to the people. I'll give an example. 4 years ago, the Minister of Culture ran a poll about two things. One is 4-day Emancipendence weekend holiday, right? And the other one was about national icons. The 4-day Emancipation 4-day weekend essentially is the 1st and the 6th of August are the holidays now, right? And of course, this year they fall on a Tuesday and a Thursday, which are garbage holidays. How can you enjoy it? You have to work next day. The proposal was to keep the 1st and the 6th as the days of commemoration. The first is Emancipation Day, probably the most important day in Jamaican history, and 6th is the Independence Day. Keep them as the days you have your ceremonies and stuff, but make the public holidays the first Friday in August and the following Monday. So every year you get 4-day weekend, just like Easter. Monday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But Easter is a holy period. Yeah. Nobody goes nowhere. In the Independence, you would have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday to do whatever you want. Spend with your family. People from the diaspora can come down. They took the poll. 62% of Jamaicans are in favor, 26% against, 12% don't care. So essentially, of the people that care, 70% want it, right? 30% don't. If you're a government, what do? Give the people what they want. They had the national icons, to be Bob Marley and Miss Lou, national icons, create a new category, just below national hero, but above order of merit. You know, because national heroes are foundation. Yes. You can't trouble it, in my view. Yes. So you have the national icons. Miss Lou created Jamaican culture, Bob Marley spread it to the world. 85% are in favor. Don Anderson in the poll said almost universal appeal. 4 years ago. What is holding them up?
And these are
they're not listening to the people. You have a few people come out against it, right? A few people. But if you are government, you have 62% going in favor, 26% against, 12 don't care. If the JLP got 62% in the election, they'll be overjoyed, right? But we won't know. A few little voices come out and they're listening to them instead of listening to the people. It's like these civil society groups. Jamaica for Justice, they don't have 2% support on the ground. Why are you paying attention to them? Listen to the people. I talk to people on the ground a lot. For years, I've talked to them. And the biggest problem with Jamaica is the government does not listen to people on the ground. Look at this issue, this letter, this Juliet Holness letter. Do you think 1% of Jamaicans are talking about it? Look at the parliament, the parliamentary, the tabling of the stuff. Do you think 2% of Jamaicans care about that? They don't care about them stuff. They care about, for example, murders are down 14% for the year. They're down 8% last year, 14% so far this year. Who's talking about it? Is the JLP putting in and say, look, we're starting to win the war against crime? No. Inflation is down last week, Monday, I believe, to 5.something%, lowest in 5 months. Is that being talked about? No, we have these letters that 95% of Jamaica don't care about. And the JLP is being sucked into talking about things that nobody cares about except a few talking heads. The people on the ground, they don't care about that. They want to feel safe. They got inflation is down. They love the 4-day holiday. They want Bob Marley and Miss Lou to be revered. These would connect with the people. But what is the JLP doing? Listen to the few talking heads who have zero support. Simple. Listen to the people. I have always said to all politicians, all politicians, I tell them, stay close to the people. The people will stay close to you. Simple as that.
Well, you must be talking to an MP from over there in West Portland, because he always utter those same sentiments about staying connected with the people. Do you agree with the sentiments shared there by Kevin, Dr. Spence?
I do agree, and
I
am
people?
almost sure, Kevin, that decision to make Miss Lou and Usain Bolt, Miss Lou and
no, Bob Marley.
Not Usain, I think Bob Marley.
Bob Marley.
I'm almost sure that decision was made already. Almost sure.
When Nadine, a 2020 the poll take 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Has it been made? How you know it has been made? How you know it has been made? The public don't know. Does the public know?
No. I mean, it was made in a particular way for it to be dispensed to the public and all of the issues around it.
When was it made?
I talk to you off the air and tell you, Kevin.
But no, I'm not interested off the air. That's my point, Nadine. Talk to the people 4 years ago. Listen, it's 4 years ago. It was doing what's taking them so long? What the dragging them football?
So let me finish then by saying, I was just saying I'm almost sure it was done. Not to say it was communicated or it shouldn't have been communicated, but to say you're very right in respect of communicating what people want to hear and what should happen and doing it in a timely manner. And I agree with you. Want. And I agree with you in terms of the whole matter of who do you listen to and who sets the narrative? Who do you allow to set the narrative?
What about the 4-day emancipation? What about 4-day independence, Nadine? If you hear about the icon, you don't hear about that one. You say you hear about the icons. What about the 4-day independence? You haven't heard about that?
No, I never heard about that one. I never heard about that.
What are we waiting on? I guarantee you. If you do those two things, people stop chat about garbage, about letter and all them stuff, because the quality of life will improve immediately. If I have a 4-day weekend, an independence weekend, my quality of life improve immediately. 4 days straight to my family to sleep or do what I want. Instead, what am I getting? Tuesday holiday this week, Thursday holiday next week. Can't do nothing come out for work.
But you know what?
The government is there to improve the quality of life of people. Do what the people want.
You know what I disagree with you with is that issues like the letters and so on, that people don't care. I think overall what is happening is that these stories
who talking about them on the road?
In the media so much, Kevin.
They're in the media not listen to people either. That's the point, Nadine. The media is out of touch with the people.
Them set a tone, Them
cares
set
about the 1 month old letter of reprimand?
They set a tone. So much.
They're out of touch. Why believe the listenership is dwindling, the viewership is dwindling, the front pages are dwindling? They're out of touch with the people.
Yeah, but it's also
the people don't care about
a story. It's sending a story about the party.
Report the news. Report the news. What's worthy?
That is impacting the party's favorability. So I'm saying
the party's chatting about it too. Talk about what people talk about. Change the narrative.
People are not going to.
Nadine, don't you think, because let me tell you why I tend to agree with Kevin, because are you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now. Yeah.
You hear me now, Nadine?
Yes, I am.
Good. Let me tell you why I tend to agree with Kevin, because I happen to sit close to some of those folks who deliberate on how to communicate. And one of the things I have heard, and what Kevin is saying is spot on. I've heard that conversation about us not listening to the people so many times. As a matter of fact, if you look at how members of parliament and ministers operate, Kevin, Nadine, and listeners, we tend to devise a plan that we think is suitable for the constituency and the divisions. And then we come to the people and we say, okay, we're going to bill you this, we're going to give you that. I've seen it many times. That's not what the people really want. And if you really ask the people, I've seen right now as we speak, there's an issue, not an issue, but there's the exact same scenario that exists in a constituency where the member of parliament is hell-bent that he wants to fix a drain in a community. There's a huge drain that carries water into the main drain into the sea. And he wants to fix that drain. But the people are saying, look, the drain don't affect me now. I want the road. Give me the road that is cheaper than give me the drain. But the MP in his mind think that fixing that drain is perhaps a better thing. So that ties in exactly to what Kevin is saying. Because if you really listen to the people and craft your plans and ideas around what the people want, you'll be better off. I think politicians are in their little corners making decisions without consulting. So I tend to agree with what Kevin is saying.
I'm not disagreeing with him. I'm just saying what I was saying on this matter of the letters and so on. Because when you're not setting the narrative, you're following behind people's narrative. So what happens is you're responding rather than talking about what your achievements are, what you're doing, what your plans are. So you're in a position where your only intervention in the communication space is you are responding, you're defending yourself. So you come across sounding defensive.
So you're not leading.
You come across sounding as if you haven't done anything because it's not your narrative, it's not what you want is out there. So I'm not disagreeing, I'm just saying those interventions are important because what it tells you is that what the JLP isn't doing is they're not putting out the information for themselves. They're following on what is out there. So somebody says says something and then them come out and defend themselves. Somebody accuse them of something, them defend themselves. So that's how it is working. I think it is working against them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But the media, Nadine, if the media talking about something that people don't care about, you ignore it too? That's because the media puts in this letter, this 1 month old letter that nobody cares about. Why you going to talk about it? Just to talk about, listen, if you put the icons out there, Miss Lou and Bob Marley become national icons versus some 1 month old letter. What are the people going to talk about? What are the people going to talk about? They want their legends to be honored. Jamaica, for example, is the world's smallest and youngest world cultural superpower, right? As Tony Rebel said, reggae put Jamaica on top. We honor our culture, and people going to talk about a letter, and plus the poll show 85% want it. You don't do that. And then you talk, and they make people tell about 1 month old letter that nobody cares about. The woman don't retire. 1 month old letter. Not 1% of people in Jamaica even care about or know about this letter. If the media wants to kill itself by talking about something nobody wants, the people don't care about. You talk about what the people want. Set the narrative. Listen to the people.
When that is the only news out there, and your attempts at sorting it out sounds like you're defensive, and because it's not just the letter, it's that the opposition is crafting a story that the JLP walks into every day. You're corrupt. You're misusing people's money. So it's not even the letters that a story is crafted.
Because in media, there are certain media houses.
And they walk into it.
There are certain media houses which clearly have their own agenda. They're not listening to people either. Don't listen to them. If they have their own agenda, ignore their agenda. Why should you follow the agenda of some media houses which clearly are a little cabal talking about this letter among themselves, the echo chamber? And give another example, this terrible long thing about the blackout pictures in the background. That is like a 9-hour story, not even a 9-day, right? And social media is talking about it. Mainstream media picks up on it. The average man talks about it for 10 minutes and moves on. They're following social media narratives, which, again, the social media is a echo chamber. It's a little talking shop among themselves, and you make this a national story. Look, on the same week came out. Murders are down 14%. Inflation is down for the lowest in five months, right? And you're going to talk about some blackout picture with some blackout color in the background. Well, that makes sense. You're following some ridiculous talking shop social media people, which is mainstream media, blow up because they have agendas. You go to the people and say, well, what are they talking about? And talk about that. Put the people on the streets. And then you find out, keep your ears to the ground. I talk to people all the time on the ground, so I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I have a fair idea. And most of the times, what the public is talking about has no relation to what the media is talking about. Nowadays, the media has gone totally off track.
But just by virtue of you engaging platforms like these, we're not one of the big paid platforms, Kevin or Nadine, and you guys are engaging in this forum, which speaks to the fact that you are in tune with we are the common people. We are on the ground. And but you're not finding the ministers, you're not finding the JLP people coming here. They're too busy.
That's true. I have a friend always says about all politicians, right? When you're in the trenches, they can't see past the nose. They talk among themselves about something, becomes an echo chamber, right? And they because they're talking about it, they assume everybody's talking about it. And the JLP especially have this problem. They say something once to the public, right? And assume everybody knows about it. The PNP knows to the same message, The PNP will hammer something over and over. They have a famous political quotation. They say, when you want somebody to hear something, you say it again and 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 again. And just when you get sick and tired of saying it, the person you want to hear it for the first time. They hear it for the first time, but the PNP knows that. That's why they've got but the JLP, for example, look at the unemployment rate.
Yes.
I was at a news house about 3 months ago. And the makeup leader's talking to her, say, how things in the country. Not now go on, man. Things rough. Nobody can get no work. So you mean nobody can get no work? Unemployment is at its lowest ever, 4.2%. She said, well, we never hear about that. I mean, the media. I'll give another example. Don Anderson took a poll the other day, about maybe 3 months ago. The JCC poll about crime, right? Crime is the biggest issue. 79% crime is the biggest issue. The next one is 3% corruption or something, right?
Yes.
But the big takeaway is 60% of people expected crime to get worse over the next 12 months. Now, the last 5 years, the crime figures are down overall. Murders are down 8% last year. They're down 14% so far this year. But 60% of people expected to get worse. Why? The media, for some reason, doesn't want to put the good news of crime falling. Is the JLP putting it out there? Murders are down 8% last year, down 14%. Rapes are down 50% over the last 5 years. Right? Do you know that, Nadine?
So what?
Nadine, do you know rapes are down over 50% last 5 years?
No, I didn't know that particular number. I know murder, 50%. I know serious crimes are down across the board. I don't know the percentages though, but I know they're down across the board,
right? But I know as a
lady,
you're interested.
These are significant things that we're not claiming them, we're not owning them.
Well, listen. I talk to the people all the time. Before I'm not a JLP or PNP, but ask my advice, I give it. Okay? I don't belong to either party. Yes. Never been to either party headquarters. Before the local government election, I posted that the JLP is doing a garbage job of communication. My suggestion is very simple. You take the 7 best issues. Unemployment is down, debt to GDP ratio highest is down to the lowest in 30 years. The minimum wage is the highest in history in real terms. Get the 7 top points, put out a press release, get a nice graphic on Instagram with the 7 points. Get a TikTok thing, talk about the 7 points. And you get all the MPs and you counsel them. This is full of government. You give them the counsel. I said, show this to the people. Let's repeat it, go up on platform. Here, people, this ABC, go up on this, look on it, this and that. Make the people on the ground spread the message. Now, how tough is that to do? How tough is that to do? You said the best points.
After this program, I'm going to WhatsApp you a document that I created before the local government election with
But
exactly what you
no,
just said a while ago.
but don't
They don't
you
mind.
don't overcrowd it, 7 points. People can't remember more than 7 things at a time. Right?
I think it was 10. The
Well,
one I did was
I
10
put
points.
no 7. 7 is a magic number. That's why I have 7-digit in phone number, because people can't remember more than 7. So stick to 7. 7 is the magic number for humans. Remember the things. 7 wonders of the world, right? Why 7? Because of the 7.
Yeah.
But I posted that before the election and said that who can't hear must feel. The JLP are going to feel the pain because they're not communicating. You talk to people that don't know about the things. It is real. You can't deny 4.2% unemployment. You can't deny the debt to GDP ratio 70%. You can't deny minimum wage is the highest ever in real terms. You can't deny some murders are down.
MP, what about the MP or the minister who says to you, well, look, I believe that I'm going to address this in the House, lower house or upper house, and I think that's adequate.
Well, the same thing. You have to talk over and over about it. How much people listen to when the parliamentary hearings? Maybe 5%, 1%. Most people are too busy for politics, They're busy working. Them children go in school. They must schedule them and then woman them when they're born. People busy. All right. All right. This is the reality of life. So they don't have much time for politics in their brain. So you got to come to them with points they can understand. Simple points they can understand quickly. I'll give you a story. Way back when they had the dead baby scandal. Remember? Fenton Ferguson.
Yes.
I was at Fontana. We're locking up one night. About 20 people are there. Or 30 people. I said, do you think Fenton Ferguson should resign over the dead baby? Should resign? Then me like a pause and one person said, who named so?
Oh, that touch.
Unapologetic. It's not like apologetic. So excuse me, who is this? Them busy. Jamaicans are busy. People are telling them at school and picking their work and all the money for schedule. That's the main thing from the punch. So we don't have time to talk about politics all the time. So you got to come to them with simple, clear points. They can understand, quickly absorb it. That make a difference to me.
Nabi, how do you think we capitalize on some of the positives that we have out there?
Is it true? I agree with Kevin on that in the sense of how do you communicate. If you are there, we know one of the things we know is that the media likes to sell a negative story. We know that about media. Them like murder, they like gore, they like bodies, they like disaster. They just like bad news. Bad news themselves faster.
That's why they're declining. They're
Right.
mistaken, and that's why they're declining. They think so, but the people don't want the bad news. They stop watching TV long time and they can't take the murder.
People turn off. We know that people turn off. But we also know that they're sticking to the idea that people want bad news, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
if you
And that's why they're shrinking.
If you are in the business of putting out story and you know that basic thing about the media, that they prefer bad news, then you have to find alternative ways to communicate your good news, because they're not going to carry the news that says Jamaica is doing better, Jamaica is improving in this respect. What people want to carry is when something happening in the education system. Oh my God, the school them mashed down, the country is in crisis. We will be everything will be going well one day, and one thing happened the next day, and the country is in crisis. The moral fabric of our country is gone. The country needs leadership, and everybody says from one or two things happening in the news cycle over 2 days that we're gone to hell in a handbasket. So if you know that, you have to communicate then. If you want to if your story is a story about good things happening and things being turned around, you have to communicate it differently. It's not going to be through the news media, the traditional media, the way you would normally communicate if you were if you are in opposition and the story that you want to tell is the story of doom and gloom, and I am the option to get us out of doom and gloom. I don't think it's unfair to the JLP, I just think they are not reading the political moment. So they have to think about Jamaica is at a point where it has never been. We've never been at a point where we can tell so much good stories about our country. There's a particular narrative that we've been telling ourselves, or we've been telling each other since the 1970s. But now we have another set of stories to tell. So how do we tell that story? What are the strategies? What is the media? How do we tell a story of a country that is turning around? The international media is doing a better job than our local media.
Telling our story, yes.
And our people are not inclined, as Kevin said, because to be honest, I hardly listen to mainstream news. because people find the news nowadays extremely depressing. People cannot manage this idea of doom and gloom every day. I might listen for a day or two, but then nothing really changes. You expect the same narrative. And as well, it is not
Answer a
in touch with
question.
your experience. So a lot of
I'm going to
people
answer a
have checked
question.
out. So what is
Go ahead.
happening? I was talking to some young men the other day about politics, from both sides of the political divide. And one of them said to me, I will vote for if I want to vote, I would have voted for the JLP, but I now vote for Andrew HOLNESS. So and I said to him, okay, interesting. Why? And I was, asking him why, and he was telling me the same things that you hear in the media, the same thing, them too corrupt. And you know that it is. And I said to him, okay, you have a PNP narrative. And he said to me, what that mean? And I was explaining to him that if he were able to tell me some examples that he knew of himself, then we could have a conversation. But he was just telling me a narrative that is out there, that him here going around. And if you talk to exactly what you say, Kevin, if you talk to 6 supporters of the PNP, they have the same narrative. They say the same things.
Exactly.
Because that party has managed to craft a narrative that all of Jamaica runs with. Mainstream media is running with it, social media is running with it, and the average PNP supporter
Repetition.
knows
The PNP understands.
It hasn't changed. It's the same thing. Them tell you say time come, and then them tell you say the JLP is corrupt, and then tell you about some what was it again, the story about the illicit six. Then there is a way that they have managed to package and tell their supporters the narrative, and then their supporters are having conversations with other people.
Let me tell you though, this goes back. It's not just now. I'll give an example. The PNP come with this thing about Bustamante, right? Him illiterate and dons. And then him say, bring all the Rasta dead or alive. Now, Bustamante, they never said, bring all Rasta dead or alive. There's no proof. I read every book in Jamaican history. Not one has that quote anywhere. It's not in the Gleaner. Never said, but PNP said over and over. Now, how did Bustamante become famous? How did Bustamante first make his name in Jamaica?
Talk to us, Kevin.
So, Chapa John, you don't? Eh? You don't know?
Tell me.
You're labor right. Hold on, no, you're labor right.
He came because of his advocacy for the
as a money
class.
As a money lender.
As a lender, no. Was a money lender. He was a journalist.
I said how he became famous. How did he become a national name? Yeah, labor, you know, on sing Bustamante song every time. Remember Bustamante? You don't even know. Bustamante wrote letters. He wrote letters. He was the first one in Jamaica to write letters to the people of suffer, for people are dead out there. He wrote a letter. He became nationally famous writing. I wrote one letter, and it had such an impact that he wrote and they asked him to write more. He became nationally famous. Now, if a man is dunce and illiterate, how can he become famous writing letters? But on the JLP, don't even know no one story. And tell them no one story. And what they say, remember Bustamante. You don't remember Bustamante. When my PNP craft totally wrong, totally incorrect narrative. Right? Don't counter it. And then who they going to believe? I don't know, sing the name every time. Remember Bustamante, he did you well, whatever.
Serve us well.
You don't remember Bustamante? But they don't know their own story. I'm not telling their own story. God, Nadine, it's something in the DNA of the PNP that they know how to craft narratives, and the JLP that they don't know how to craft narratives. So when you hear about PNP have the narrative, because they've been doing it and the JLP won't listen. I've told the laborites and I see them, I'm going to sing this song, I don't know to tell people what the man. How that makes sense? Is that like Bustamante, the forgotten figure? He's at every time. Remember Bustamante, he served you well. And then you can't tell about Bustamante. When the young people ask, who is Bustamante? Oh, him tell all, arrest all Rasta dead or alive, bring them in a dead or alive. That's the young people know about Bustamante. A totally made up quote. Oh, militant dons. The man wrote letters to become famous. And there you go. But I'm going to tell you another problem the JLP has. They need a communication czar. Them love have too much people chat over the same issue. Look at the DPP. Delroy Chuck chat. AG, Attorney General chat. Why wouldn't they have got together They should have a communication.
Sponsored.
All communication is passing through me. Mr. Morgan get a bad rap, you know. He was given a basket to carry water. He had no power to shut up people. A communication czar must say, Delroy, AG, shut up, come to me. Let's craft one narrative, a joint release from the AG and the Justice Minister. Here is our position on the DPP. Instead, they have Delroy Chaka chat, AG chat. How tough is that? Not ABC, that? ABC.
You know why they have that problem? They have 60.
Why?
Anybody here? They have 63 different JLP.
That is why Andrew Holness, the man where the buck stops. I hear them again have a communication council.
Yeah, he's reading that.
You appoint a czar and you say, no communication must be released till it pass through my hands. Delroy Chuck and AG should come to us and him say, hold on, gentlemen, do a joint release. We're not going to argue. Remember the politician salary thing, right?
Yeah.
Nigel Clark chat. Andrew Holness at chat. Information Minister chat. Public confused. Craft one narrative. And again, I told them that someone asked me, I said, craft a one-pager showing all the big heads in the Ministry of Education. The doctors get big salary. The principals get big salary. Not the politicians are not the ones get big salary. But no, the public are not alerted about these other people. Only politicians they talk about. What about the doctor them and the principals? I get big salary too. And the Chief Justice them I get big salary. Too much people are chatting and not thinking, them talking without thinking. They want the glory of talking to the public. They like them feel important talking. Craft and Andrew Holness, listen, the leader must take the blame, you know. If you don't have a proper communication system, who is to blame but the leader? Andrew Holness, listen, I'm going to say this, who can vex? I came back to Jamaica from school in 1989. And I tell people, I have three young people. One is 19, one is 13, one is 8. I say, I don't care about JLP or PNP. I want a Jamaica. So when if my children go away to school, as most children do, there's a Jamaica here they want to come back and live in. And there's only one prime minister I have seen in my 35 years that come back to Jamaica who I see moving it in that direction. And that's the one we have now. If it's a PNP man, I'd praise him just as much. He is creating the Jamaica I would like my children to see. He doesn't have to cut crime. Grow some cojones, Mr. Holness, and get tough on the crime. But the unemployment is down to miraculous levels. In the 1990s and 2000s, people with university degrees would come to Fontana and they want floor clerk job. We can't get that job everywhere. I'm applying for a floor clerk job. I said, but you know, if the gent telling me overqualified, they're not going to stay in this job. But they couldn't get another job. No, they can pick, choose, and refuse. You talk to young people, they have a million choices.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's obviously out there. Right? Andrew Holness has done that. And Nigel Clark, whatever. The debt to GDP ratio in 2013-14, we thought Jamaica was going to go bankrupt. 150% GDP to debt to GDP is at 70% now. Almost a miracle. And the did that.
Why is it that the JLP had to
even talking about it? Is the JLP talking about it? And Andrew Holness has a one fault. Hold on, no, the fault I come back to Andrew Holness. I'm laying it back. That's I rate him. But him is a one-man band thing. Him think him YouTube, him social media pages alone can do everything. Seems to be his attitude. All my social media pages have 400,000 people. All I need to put my message out there. I don't need to do anything else. Wrong, Mr. Holness. Now, they didn't talk to you about this one. CMOC, the Crime Management of what name? Crime Management Oversight Committee. Yes, it started. They sign up on it. The JLP pay no attention to it now. So all the people them sign up on it, unprecedented. You know, nearly every group of any North to Jamaica sign up to this thing, unprecedented, and the JLP is ignoring them. Come back to leadership. Andrew Holness had a one-man band mentality. He needs to become more of a team player, in my view. Him get 49 seats, he must think it working. Well, him lose the last election. I don't care what nobody say. Them lost the popular vote. Now tell me about JLP when that last local government election. When I lost the popular vote. So Mr. Holness, if you wake up, You need to wake up
Kevin not
and smell the
holding any
coffee.
punches, you know. Kevin
Then
not holding any punches.
you lose the popular
Like
vote.
this.
You lose the popular vote. Don't tell me say you win. You got a slap in the face. In my view, this is my view again. And Mr. Holness got big crowd. I think the people say, Andrew will love you still. We want to like your party. And somebody tell me the other day, I know very well, die-hard labor right. Nigel Clark is for the rich. They don't understand how Nigel talk. Him use a big word and think they don't understand him. Yes, he's the best prime minister in our finance minister in our history, in my belief. The numbers are unquestionable. But he communicates well to uptown. They love him uptown. Downtown, them can't understand him. Right? You need to get that message in a way they can understand downtown. And Andrew Holness needs to create a proper communication structure. Him alone is not enough. He should have learned that by now after the last election. The people still love Andrew. And I talk to people on the ground all the time. And when they come to me, I say, give me the 2 questions I ask them. Rate Andrew out of 10, rate Mark out of 10. Andrew averages 7 to 8. Mark averages 4 to 5. They don't like Mark fake patois. You know, nobody ever mentioned Mark color to me yet. Not one man say, I like this a white man. No. What they say? I don't like him fake patois. Give it as I get it. Andrew is still popular, but the people think Andrew weak on crime. Right? That is the big message.
How could they justify that comment when you spend over $50 billion, you're the only prime minister to spend that amount of money on fighting crime?
How many Jamaicans know that?
Well,
how many Jamaicans know about the police station? How much police station and rehabilitate? How much police station and rehabilitate? Exactly. How many Jamaicans know that? How many Jamaicans know that?
That's true. I can't push back on that.
When the SOEs were there, the people wanted them extended. Holness back down. Mark, you're on the right track now, but if you did hold on the SOEs, we'd be down 30%, not 14%.
Yeah, because I was saying this, Kevin.
Anyway, that's my interpretation.
When the People's National Party, Nadine, decided not to support the SOE, when we had a 21% reduction in murder, and I think 76% in St. James alone, and the PNP decided not to support it, what would have been your option, Kevin? Is to go back every 14 days and call it, that's all. And keep the boots on the ground.
Then do it. 14 days off, 14 days on, 14 days off, 14 days on. Illegal, that's what? Exactly. They did not listen to the people. And the polls showed 70% want the SOE.
Yes.
Listen to the people. Simple as that. And one message. One message. Do not have people 3 or 4 men talking about the same thing. One. Look at in America. What them have a press secretary? She talk. She's the talker. And so the bus is simple like that. Yeah. Listen.
Centralized communication. What
do you say? But they also need to think about the
one more thing.
Let me communicate.
Let me say one more thing. Nadine, one more thing. Again, you said something I fully agree with. No government, in my experience, has as much good news to talk about as this one. Right?
That's true.
Right. But them have a wall of things to talk about, but they're not talking about them. Look at the police where you tell me the 50 billion on security, 130 police stations. Not 5% of Jamaicans know that out there.
New legislation that nabbed some of the biggest gangs in Jamaica came under this government.
Well, they don't know. Anyway, Nadine, shut up your time.
I was going to say one of the things that they have to learn as well is that they can communicate from 2 places. You can communicate from the party and you can communicate as government. And if the party wants to retain the government, the party itself, not the government alone, the party itself has to build a structure within it that allows it to communicate.
Well, let me ask you this, Nadine, while you say that. Quick, stick up in real quick. Don't you believe then, therefore, based on what you're saying now, which I agree with, don't you think that having Nestor at the time, being the same person to deliver the good news from the government and to deliver the politically correct news from the party was around?
You attack dog. You separate them. You attack dog for the party.
It's a wrong move. Wrong move.
It's a wrong move.
It's a wrong move, and I think personally, and I've said it to Robert, that it did him a lot of damage. Yes. Right? Because if he successfully communicates in a very attacking kind of way, is out there dealing with the misinformation that from a party perspective, the communication from government and the minister of information has to he has to finesse it and nuance it and tell a different story. It's a different story the Minister of Information tells. And it's a different persona you need to be Minister of Information.
Exactly.
Sorry.
We have one guy doing it.
You did a party attack dog for the party. You did an attack dog and somebody statesman like for the government. Two people, different people. So you can't have one man attack and then one statesman like it don't work. Robert got a basket to carry water. He got a basket to carry water.
In terms of you mess up the messenger, essentially.
You got a basket to carry water. So can blow at the same time.
Because in one respect, the messenger is saying something else, but in another respect, the messenger is expected to perform another function and do it differently. That's one. And I agree with you in terms of who, if it is that it is the Minister of Information who communicates on behalf of the government, then why is it that you have so many other people and the Minister of Information creates the avenue for people to communicate once a week? And if there is an emergency or a special situation, why do the other ministers feel the need to communicate so readily without any kind of sanction?
And want to hear themselves. And Robert didn't have this.
Misrepresent. If they're going to communicate, then they, as Kevin said, there needs to be a one person who they have to pass everything through. Does this fit into this narrative that we are telling about ourselves at this point? Because you're right, you can't put out too much information out there to people absorb at different times. So you have to be sending one message at a particular point. Who are we focusing on this week? Who are we focusing on? What is the story we are telling next? What is the overarching message?
Come back to the point at the end. PNP understands narrative, JLP doesn't.
No, JLP doesn't.
The foundation of the PNP, Kevin, and you're from back in the 70s. You understand how important it was for them and how they got into power and how they manipulated the system was through communications. They have never been a party that really come with, substantive. I mean, if you look at 1972, the PNP didn't have a manifesto, 1976, they didn't have a manifesto. 1980, they didn't have a manifesto. I think they came with a manifesto somewhere in probably 89 or 2000 in the 90s.
Human beings are storytelling and story listening animals. We gravitate to stories. My son, by the way, but Anansi booking love here, Anansi, right? So the PNP grasped that early. We tell stories that people can believe, whether them true or not. The JLP
there you go.
So the JLP, there's a famous saying that
you see that point that Kevin just made is an important something. I have a book on my shelf downstairs, and the book says leadership is about storytelling.
Yes.
And so when you do any training on leadership nowadays, one of the things that they talk to you about is how do leaders tell effective stories. Because part of what a leader does is a leader pulls together streams of information from different spaces and hang them together in a tangible kind of way so that people have a big narrative. People have their little narrative, we're going in my own little space is my small narrative. But there's also a larger narrative where this is happening, that is happening, that is happening. And I don't necessarily know how to interpret all of it. But if I have a leader who is trustworthy enough to tell me a story or to hang all of the different pieces together in such a convincing manner that I buy into it, then that becomes my big narrative. And then it also impacts my personal narrative. And you're right, if you look at parties that come from out of a socialist tradition, they do a better job of telling stories because they have the big picture things. They talk about justice, human rights. They talk about...
Again, let me tell you, Andrew Holness. They talk about stories. Andrew Holness had the best backstory in the history of Jamaican politics. Born in a board house, Spanish Town Primary, St. Catherine High, When him go, him couldn't even have a working mate to university, right? Never have you seen a prime minister a backstory. How many Jamaicans know about Andrew Holness' backstory? I don't think 10% know. When he launched the election, local government thing, I remember listening. I am one of you. He talked about it a little bit. But if talked about it once, he did it over and over. I am one of you. Born in a boardhouse, Spanish Town Primary, St. Catherine High. Me wanna own you are just like me and I became prime minister, so can you. How tough is that to do? No, he's a man. Maybe people have personal things that don't want to talk, but you craft it in a way that the people, you know what is okay with you, because you don't know people's personal emotions, right? But him start talk about it, but him don't repeat it.
But that's one of the faults of the jail.
Well, as I say, he needs to bring a communication expert and listen.
Yeah, that's one of the faults of the jail people time. Chopper. Here, what is their part of their fault? They don't recognize that beyond the numbers, like people, yes, the country is doing well. Yes, the investments are flowing in. Yes, the employment is but those are numbers. And those are things. Yes, the numbers from crime are going down. But that is when you begin to narrate a different story now.
But Nadine, you said something when you started, you said that you believe that they have changed to some extent how they communicate. You've seen some improvement. And
man, I don't know if you've seen the thing where Dr. Dana is, just explaining things. Yes, and I saw Bruce Golding, I saw Shireen
Golding doing it as well.
Golding doing something. I saw Minister Johnson Smith chime in 1 week. Just very relatable stories, easy, no drama, no tension.
Where's the structure?
Short story.
Where is the structure?
It's been pretty good, Kevin. Trust me, it's been pretty good.
They say these things, but in what now? Where's the narrative for them? They're saying things, but it's a part of a continuous narrative.
There still needs to be a larger narrative. It needs to be tied together, and it needs to be sustained, and it needs to be pointed, and it needs to be deliberate.
Communication strategy.
I think this the new council that the Prime Minister spoke about. I think that's what's going to be, pulled together to pull all of this now and put up a strategy in place. So
those things that I've seen, but again, you get the feeling that them kind of stifle Robert a little bit, and that he doesn't have the confidence that he once had, because when he's confident and he's confident is up there, and you see that the party are back him. He's very good. And I think he's good enough to communicate for the party or the government. They just need to be decisive to tell him which one. He can't do both.
You can't suck and blow. You know my simple thing? I'm an outsider. You have a Robert Morgan, you have a Abka Fitzhenley. Robert is the Minister of Information. Me statesman like, not the gentleman and all that. And you make Abka, whoever be attack dog and attack for the party. Two different elements, One is communicating the accomplishments of the government, right?
But you put Abka in the Senate.
And then you put the other man who attacking the PNP and say, what about the corruption and when do this and that, or the young people this, and talk about these things that the PNP talk about. Separate them. They had Robert trying to be the bad cop and the good cop at the same time. Can't work. You can't suck and blow at the same time. They gave the man basket to carry water. Robert did the right thing. Step away, rebuild himself. He's young.
He can do both well, but he can't do them at the same time.
Yeah, man, I agree.
Yeah, can't do them at the same time.
Both couldn't work, and that's where we probably had the problem. But look at let's narrow in now, Kevin and Nadine, on Abka. Let's say Abka were to be given the attack dog position to speak for the party. Would he not be muzzled by his position in the upper house?
That's not my problem with it. No, Abka is a senator, and the Senate constitutionally has a particular role that it's supposed to play.
Well, find somebody else then.
It's not supposed to be
person. Okay, I want to call Abka. I call him name. You have other people. You have other people, that's call them name because I was there, but you have other people who are competent here and you get a narrative to them and say, oh no, here, you're the top dog. Here's the narrative. And you feed them a narrative. Don't let them create them a narrative.
That person has to be in the upper or lower house, Kevin?
No, it doesn't point somebody. I don't think they don't have to be in a particular, but as a top dog, it doesn't matter who it is, but you make sure they're competent and know what they're doing. But as I say, politics is about, as a government, you can't get nasty. You got to be clean. You got to,
Somebody said about, somebody called Benicia.
Listen, I'm not into the details. I just know what is needed. I'm not going to fill in the details, but I do know you need a statesman like the American press secretary talking about the government's accomplishments. So politics is that thing. You got to dirt yourself up a bit, get into the trenches. You need somebody in the trenches who can attack the PNP narrative. It's only common sense, The PNP creates a narrative, you get somebody to attack them narrative, but the government can't do it, but the JLP can. That's only common sense.
Yeah.
As I say, you look at the PNP, they have time come for the local government election. What is the JLP slogan?
Second. And Kevin, the JLP,
the PNP had time come for a change.
They've had it across 2 conferences or 3 conferences,
Yes. What's their slogan? What's the JLP slogan?
With it for 2 or 3 conferences.
The JLP slogan was tailored towards the local government election.
What was their slogan?
Building for you and your community. Yes, that was it.
God, man, I'm falling asleep just listening to it. Building for you and your community. Time come. Time come for what? Time to come for a change. Come on, man.
Kevin, I'm just telling you what it was.
What I'm saying, you're here that you fall asleep. Building for you and your community. As I say, the ball stops at Andrew Holness. If he cannot see,
don't have no creativity in a sound like a Jamaican. I say it have no resonance. Connect people.
But listen, Andrew Holness, as I said, he is the boss. If he cannot see Einstein, they're attributed to Einstein, but it's not him said. But as I said, doing this, what is insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result next time. So if they do the same thing for the general election and lose, who can't hear must feel.
So you don't think building for you and your community? You think that's going to be what
again, that is telling you how the party confuses itself. That is something the government should say.
I'm dreaming of a new Jamaica.
Needs to say something else. So the government can say something else, but it's not the government that goes to elections. It's the JLP that needs to
confusing the message. That's true. Because building for you and your community could simply be building Jamaica.
Listen, man, you get some experts in there, brainstorm, come up with 3 or 4 slogans, take a poll of the people and see which one them like. You're not tough enough. We don't know what the people resonated.
Your original argument, Kevin. Ask the people. The people will tell you what they want to hear.
Stay close to the people stay close to you. Andrew Holness. Why do you think Andrew Holness?
Something we're going to say now, right? We're in a different world where people want to be involved in politics, not just necessarily through what they hear. People want up on the ground and do something. You understand? People want to, what I have discovered is that people prefer face-to-face engagement nowadays. Like, because there's so much engagement through different media.
You get tuned off.
People really appreciate the face-to-face engagement. If you have a party that is working with its councillors and its MPs, why are they going back to bring the message to people? Bring the message, not on a political platform, in meetings with your core workers. That this is, as Kevin said, these are the 7 points where we are going. When you go out there on the streets, you are supposed to spread this message to make sure 70 people get this message. And then that 70 people must make sure another 70 get it. You know what I mean? What about that hand-to-hand combat? Instead of just walking with a whole crowd going at town center. The people are not moved by that anymore. People want to sit down with you and have some conversation.
One-on-one. Yes.
One-on-one. If people are not into no Zoom meeting and people are in a big political meeting in a town center, because it's like you're watching it on TV in any case. They're so far from the speaker.
Based on the list of things that the government has achieved, Kevin, over the last 6 years, I mean, you find it difficult the party should really even have to campaign because it's chalk to cheese based on achievement. Why is it that the PNP was so effective, though, in cancelling all of these good things that we did?
Stayed on message. The PNP repeated one message over and over, and it penetrated in the people's brain. The JLP had 10, 20 different messages, and none of them could penetrate. Plus, to be reality, the reality is, in my view, and I heard a JLP man, I tell them election night, some guy in Westmoreland, say, before the election, some JLP man, I don't know him, I buck him up and him start talk, him say him is some member, but him say, him would have loved JLP lose. Because it take with Nigel control over Andrew. Right? His concept was that you bring the debt to GDP ratio down to 70%, right? From 150. The people on the ground hearing all this good news. But because inflation is high, they now feel it. It's like in America, the figures are good economically, but Joe Biden in trouble because inflation hurts the poor the most.
Yeah, it's why canceling out the achievements.
The man say, and Mark God goes on to something here. The man say, listen, man, spend 5% of that on the people. If you go from 70 to 75, you're still going to get the praise. Whether it's 70 or 75, they may praise you. Still IMF and World Bank will praise you.
Yeah, already 50% now.
Eh?
You're already down by a significant number already.
Exactly. So spend some on the people, the part program, whatever way. You forget to get the big heads. I said, what's the best way to spend his money for the maximum impact on the people? Mark Golding said it and people laugh at him, but he was onto something with that one. But a good politician takes ideas from everybody, even if the enemy say the thief the enemy idea and do it and claim the credit for it. Again, just common sense.
Are you saying that the GLP stole that idea and implement that in the last budget, Kevin?
They started, they didn't finish.
Well, they did
the election is next year. But listen, political ideas are always in the air. There's nothing new in politics. Right? It's about looking for an idea that suits the time. When people talk about back is my idea, which was the guy, the PNP man, talk about something in the UK government suggested 10 years ago. And I claim it's him idea. When he read it that he did it in the UK. You want to hear anything more foolish? There are plenty of ideas around the place. Just because you said it first doesn't mean it's your idea. But the people don't care who said it, Once you do it and the benefit, you did it, you get the credit. It's who executes.
And again, but where we are now, Kevin, if you look at the budget, Nadine, the last budget that was presented, seemed to touch on some of the things that resonate with the common.
They started the process. Andrew Holness speech. Have you ever heard something like district name call it? This district, that district I get water, this district I get road. I mean, hundreds of districts he talked about.
Yes.
But have they continued the process? Did the JLP put out a printout of all the districts? For example, every district you call, you get the councillor. And to
you're going to turn all in here?
They might get road. Yes, because when they get that big, long speech, everybody forget it already. You should have the districts. You should have the districts. A printout of the district. This is the district. This is what they get. How much water, how much road, right? You put it on a print, a release, but you have to do the video on Instagram, and the man, the councillor go on, or the caretaker, communicate to the people. This is what we're getting. If you do that across 200 districts, right? Everybody know what I'm getting. But the speech was so long, the more people now go here, I bet the people them don't even hear now. And the whole thing said one time in the speech, eh?
Press release or press conference.
No, man, you do a printout for every little district, man. This, big rock or whatever. Here's what you're getting: how much water, how much road, right? And you go down to the granular level and you give that to the councillor caretaker to tell the local people about 200 different, let's say 201 individual messages. You have a big national narrative, But when you put on the ground in your little district, you want to know what is happening for me. And the whole is what you think, because said one time in the speech, everybody here. But no. I bet you they don't have a list of those districts anymore. It's been said, but have the people on the ground actually heard it?
But those speeches were good, Both Andrew's speech and
they're
Nigel's
excellent, but it's a start. They're brilliant, but it's one of the start. That's one of the beginning of the communication. They should have followed up with the information to the district itself, where they go down and send out the flyers and whatever
They
they
need
be,
to
and
distill
have
it.
the counter
They need
caretaker
to
say,
break it
this
apart.
is what they're
There
getting.
are several
Big,
different issues addressed in them. Beautiful in terms
yes,
of the
yes.
philosophy
So them
behind them.
start up, but
But
as usual, them say it one time and think everybody hear
you
it.
have to popularize it
JLP
now. You have
biggest,
to popularize it. Like when
right.
I heard the minister's speech and his mention about productivity and that whole productivity paradigm, I mean, that is a beautiful thing now for you to pull out and popularize. You know, how it is said there is not how you go and popularize it, but it has laid a beautiful framework for the popularization of that idea of getting Jamaicans to understand what we mean when we talk about productivity. What are the inputs into productivity? Now, how me I go say it? You know, you have to popularize it. But how do you
But
get
the
people to
JLP,
understand all of
them
what
say it
was just
once.
said?
Yeah, but the JLP have this thing in their brain. Me say it once, everybody hear about it. We can't go talk about something else now. And the whole speech is a good base for a national granular campaign. Have
Yeah.
they done it? I bet you don't. I bet you them don't do it.
And
Oh,
listen
me
to
talk about that
Nigel's
already,
speech
man.
again.
You know, JLP have a
I
thing, you
wanna-
talk to them. Oh, me talk about that already, man. I talk to them a couple times
One of
about
the
it. So they
things
say,
that-
oh, what the...
I
One
get
of the
that from
things
them.
that Nigel's speech did, which I thought was very good, is that he pushed back really hard at this PNP narrative going into the election that said it is really the PNP that is responsible for Jamaica's economic turnaround. He pushed back hard at it. You know, you see that section of that speech?
But he
That
said it
section of that
once.
speech needs to be
It was said once, Nadine. How many people in the Nigel Clark speech?
popularized.
No, the truth is, that particular comment about ownership of Jamaica's economic turnaround, we pushed it. We repeated what he said. We took that video and we shared it all over social media and we repeated it. A matter of fact, this is something that I've been championing for a long while because I know when it started, I knew exactly what finance minister said. He was right on point because I know long ago that they cannot, I was saying it on Cliff Hughes' program a couple of times, that you cannot give me anything to justify the argument that is being pushed by the PNP to suggest that they want to give paternity to the economic turnaround. Couldn't be. So I was happy when.
But you see, this is the thing sometimes I find with politicians. They win an argument among themselves until the public have heard. True, as I say, I want the argument. Yeah, but the public never hear you. You're not talking to each other. The echo chamber.
Yeah, we'll have to step it up. I agree with you.
Politicians are very fond of that. They get to the personal argument, they win it, but the people not hear.
If you listen to both of those presentations, what the government needs and what the JLP needs is a significant enough communication machinery so that they could distill that presentation, take it apart, and whether you deal with it, however you deal with it, but you're popularizing it. In the budget presentation, it's not a popular speech, it's a speech. It's good text, but you have take it out and run with it.
But let me ask you this too.
How much people, what percentage of Jamaicans heard Andrew Holness' speech? I don't think 10% would have.
No.
Yeah, the budget speech.
But
exactly, the 10% is plenty. But it was the brilliance of the speech. Yes, the council has to be empowered.
But let me ask you this too, Kevin.
Right.
You have a new government now. You have a press secretary. You have a director of communication at OPM. You have a director of communications for the party. And you have an information minister. You have at least 4 persons who, in my estimation, should have significant power.
And there you go. And there you go. Who is the boss? Who is the person in charge of JLP communication, of government communication? Who is the person in charge?
You see, I'm silent, right? Because I can't tell you. Because all 3 persons are
somebody in charge. Exactly the point. And Andrew Holness, let me tell you, I believe Andrew Holness, as I said, I've talked about what I think is good about him. That is my takeaway. If I have 4 people in talking and none of them are in charge, I mean, I don't want nobody in charge. And he has to get over that. That is just my takeaway. I'm no expert. But that's what I see.
No, I understand. I take your point, Kevin. I take your point.
Nobody's perfect, and I rate him as the best prime minister I have lived under. I tell you that. For my children's sake, for my children, is the best prime minister I can to give my children the Jamaica I want. But he's not perfect, and I believe he does not play as a team player. He needs to learn to play a team. And him alone are the batsman.
Constitutionally, we're due an election anytime within the next 17 to 18 months. And I can't speak to a strategy, but do you see the Jamaica Labour Party retaining government at the next poll?
It's hard to say.
Yes.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say because the government, it has too many open loops that it has to close too many things before you can say that. For me, looking on, I can say, well, the material is there. I think the material is there to convince the voter that we, as Kevin said, we have done the best for Jamaica in its 62 years of coming up on 62 years of independence. So we have the material is there. They have good raw material to engage people.
No government has ever had more material, Nadine. No government has ever had so many accomplishments to boast about. None in the history of Jamaica.
But what are they going to do with it? Because it's there. They don't have to make up no story. But what is the story that tells? And how
building a new Jamaica.
How do they not score any more own goals and get into unnecessary quarrels with people who not going to impact them, who unless they engage them?
Communications are
impact on their electoral chances.
Communications are empowered. Nothing go out if you don't pass it through me or my committee. If I'm a committee and I don't pass it through me, if you don't release nothing more, the Prime Minister talk to you and say, listen, I appoint Azar, listen to him. That is my 2 cents. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, it's there. The raw material is there, is what they do with it. And I suspect that the raw material will continue to be there because clearly this is a party that works. This is a government that is doing its work. Did
you guys see the World Bank? Wayne Chen posted it. The World Bank ranking of Jamaican government effectiveness. Did you see how Jamaica is now in the top 25% in the world? And if you saw the charts there, I posted them on Twitter. They have improved. They have improved absolutely in terms of the numbers have gotten better for Jamaica and relative to the rest of the world. The evidence is there. The government is performing. Now look on that. Is the party pushing that out? It was a gift to the party.
But Kevin, if you look at what Transparency International put out a few.
The corruption. Let me speak. Hold on. I put the corruption graph there. The corruption graph has gone up. It's the best ever for Jamaica from the World Bank. Yes, and the JLP still allows the PNP to talk about corruption, incompetence of communication.
So something is wrong there. There's another report that is slated. There's another report that is slated to come out very soon. I think it's the global report on press freedom. World press freedom release is about to come out, and I think it might knock Jamaica on the risk because of certain things.
The PAJ is at fault. The PAJ is squarely to blame. They start telling lies. I read the last Transparency International report, and Andrew Holness said some stuff he never said. It was twisted. Andrew Holness was saying a man can say whatever he wants because freedom of speech, right? How they came out to Transparency International, the journalists don't need to stick to the facts. They twisted what Holness said because I don't have that agenda. And of course, Transparency International used that to knock Jamaica down. Suicide by the PAJ. I don't care about it, tell me.
Isn't this a case?
Misrepresented it. I read that report and nobody could answer. So how Mr. Holness said this on the report that? They couldn't answer when I asked them. And now, and hold on now, when you had that attack on Nationwide, what did the PAJ say?
Right. So that's the one.
Where was PAJ? Where was the Jamaican Civil Society to condemn it? Yes, and then the PNP rape one. The PAJ and the civil societies are cutting their own throats. They should have defended nationwide to the bone.
So
it's
the
like
fact
they
that
ignored it. And if we drop down, it's the PAJ fault and civil society fault. And we want to cuss me off, but I'm a Jamaican. I'm very proud of the press. I wrote an article about 5 years ago, Jamaican press freedom, about how wonderfully we have done. I've always been a praiser of Jamaican media. I think it's one of the great accomplishments we have. And we're destroying it because the PAJ and civil society have lost sight of the bigger picture. Stop with the political agenda. Look at press freedom. We had one of them. We're number 8 in the world. No, we're number 30-something.
But the question is, though,
the picture.
When you look at, there's something, Nadine and Kevin, about those civil society groups. And we had a discussion about it recently. And we're saying that some of these
okay,
groups
Nadine, hold on, Nadine, I got to Nadine this. We have 2 political symbols in Jamaica with a hand. One is a fist, everybody knows PNP. One is V for JLP. Now imagine if a civil society group had used a V for their symbol in their logo. What would the reaction have been?
People would be upset. Which one using a fist now?
All right, what one using a, you never said Jamaican for Justice logo yet?
Yeah, the fist.
The fist is there every day, and yet nobody says nothing. If the V was there, they'd be slaughtering them. No, you tell me how that can work. You have a million symbols you can use. A million symbols to choose from, and you choose a fist? Come give me a break, man. And then tell me I'm independent? Give me, you know what Richard Pryor used to say? Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?
But Kevin, isn't it, what I was trying to ask you just now, isn't it that some of these so-called civil society groups are motivated by us being negatively impacted on the index because that's how they get their funding?
Apparently so. I agree with you. What is their agenda? Is their agenda for Jamaica, or is their agenda to get funding money from negativity?
Sometimes what we have to do too is think about the right, who sets their agenda, who funds them, and also ask
who are elected? Who are they elected? How are these heads elected? They must dictate to the politician them, and nobody can tell us how they're elected. Where is their democracy? There's no transparency, no international, no transparency or accountability.
Right, we haven't built any accountability.
They're lecturing everybody on transparency, and it is ridiculous. But then again, they have no standing on the ground.
We haven't built any accountability systems for civil society to function in.
But they have no standing on the ground. Stop listening to them.
We haven't built any transparency systems. We haven't built any accountability systems. That's one. 2, we haven't had enough public conversation about what we mean by civil society, who is in the third sector, and how do they get to have the voice that they have. We haven't worked out those things yet in Jamaica, so that when people hear their story, people go, oh, okay, so which perspective do one here come from now? Because that's an important question for the citizen to ask themselves, when they hear people with special interest speak. They must say, okay, whose perspective do you represent in this conversation? Is it that who? Because normally they speak as if they're speaking for everybody. We're speaking for the best interest. But who says you are? Who gave you that title? And that's, if we don't have those conversations in the public domain, so that every Jamaican can see and hear that it is possible to question civil society, especially those who are funded internationally, and
but they have no standing on the ground.
And why are you speaking the way you speak? And
the government,
and which side? Because they are usually politically motivated. Wherever you go in the world, they are aligned to a political side. Why are we behaving as if they were sent down from God and dropped in the middle? No, they are politically aligned.
But we allow them to have this great influence on the system, though, because that's
also how the media frames it, though. In Jamaica, the media frames it as if civil society is impartial, and
they have no standing. They also have no standing on the ground. The public, not 1% of Jamaicans care about them.
But we do have civil society
Listen,
organizations
20 years
that come
ago,
from the grassroots in Jamaica that are legitimate, that can speak, but they're not generally speak in such
listen, but
lofty
none
ways
of the,
as some of the
listen,
more popular ones.
JFJ, NIA, JUMP, which other one the plain people have, they got together. Advocates, where they said head of it to work for Portia, right? The four of those groups, they don't have 5% of support in Jamaica. I guarantee you that. Listen, 20 years ago, maybe how long? When Carolyn Gomes and Renato Adams was out, my Fontana people asked them one day, who you support, Renato or Carolyn Gomes? 19-1 Renato. And then JFJ had some credibility then when Carolyn Gomes was around. They have 0 now. They are supposed to get justice against police brutality. What am I do? Talk about letter in a parliament? How did their remit switch so much? Were they about getting justice for police brutality? And by the way, that's one of the stories. Yeah, but hold on now. The police in Jamaica today have the best rapport with the public ever. There's been a transformation. There's no more we want justice. This is the best relationship between the police and the public ever. Police brutality at its lowest level ever. When I ask you this, who is more brutal, Jamaican police or American police?
Well, it's played out in the public. We see it out there now. We know that is the American police.
Right. When 10 years ago I asked that question, would be different. It's been one of the great cultural transformations in Jamaican history. This colonial occupying police force, which is what they were started out of the white and brown man to hold down poor black people. We know that after emancipation, right? All our history, Babylon, beat down Babylon and all that. It's vanished. But who is telling that story? Who is telling that story to the public? Whenever I talk to people and mention it, them say, boy, you're true enough. Whenever I think about it though, that's one of the two greatest transformations I've seen in the last 7 years. Unemployment coming from 20% to 4% and police brutality vanishing. But who is telling the public about it?
Remember in 2006, 2005, we had over 475 persons murdered from extrajudicial killing. It was
exactly
when the GLP came in 2007 and Indicom was launched. Indicom really and truly to me is one of the best initiatives that really yield results.
I agree. It's down to 100 and change. Yes.
Yeah.
And the public again, no longer, and I asked Henley Morgan, the community activist, because maybe I'm not, but I'm out of touch. You never know. Does he think this is the best relationship ever between the police and the Jamaican public? He said yes, unquestionably. And gave me a story about his community. But who's telling that story, Chopper?
That is true, Kevin. I think, and you're right. I think the stories we need to start doing more in terms of telling and writing our own stories. It's sad that in 2015, I remember 2015, 2016, when I Googled the name Edward Seaga, Michael Manley came up. And I screenshot it and sent it at the time. I think it was Shirley Webster who was at
But it's not a party. But it's not a party story, boss. This is a national story. I'm not talking about JLP.
How bad it was at the time, because not
but I'm
even
not saying it. This is a national story. And it's not a JLP or PNP thing. The police brutality thing is a historic thing for the Jamaican nation.
That's true. That is true.
But who is talking about it? And the press, our lousy media is talking about 1 month to a letter.
Yeah, well, we have to try to do what we can do from these small platforms, Kevin. We can only try from where we are to highlight the positives about Jamaica, to put the truth out there, to not continue the propaganda campaign with people, because we don't fight propaganda with propaganda. We fight it with truth. And our belief is that in every movie you watch, the bad guy, no matter how bad the scene be, the good guy always come out the winner.
Let me give another national story, sir. We're not talking about the last local government election was the best in the history of Jamaica. PNP and JLP were dancing together. I saw a video. A PNP lady come in. Boy, I'm coming later. I'm PNP not reach but some labor right friend them have lunch with me there.
Yeah. Well,
in 1980 they were killing each other. Now they're dancing together and sharing food. Historic. And again, Where's the narrative? Who's telling these good news stories about Jamaica? Political violence has vanished. Police brutality has vanished. Unemployment is a record low. Debt to GDP ratio, it's lowest in 30 years, right? Highest minimum wage ever. Fantastic stories. What do we have on the front page? 1 month old letter. 1 month old letter of reprimand.
Does the party or the government have any control over that? Because you're dealing with a newspaper.
You tell your stories. You can tell your stories. But the JLP can tell them stories. Look at those 5 things I mentioned. I mentioned those 5 things to you. 5 things I mentioned to you. Historic, right?
Yes.
How often? How are you guys? Even if let's say the government or JLP, are you communicating them? How? How is the police brutality being communicated? How is the peaceful election being communicated? Because that's how the government must be taken from credit for that. How are these good news things being communicated? Where?
Well, that's why I have to big up yourself and I have to big up Nadine as well, because you guys appearing here alone is the start of a new trend now. Because since we can't get government to do it, and we have a message in just in Jamaica, we know who we want.
We all have picnic.
Exactly. And I want my son to grow up in Jamaica.
Yes.
I want him to finish high school. I want him to come back to Jamaica. So
yes,
we have to make it fight for. And
that is my motivation to talk, not no party.
Yes. So I share that view with you. And that's why we're going to start here and here now. Where we are going to shape the narrative. We're going to start to carry the message. Because depending on the politician to do it, I don't know if it's going to happen. We've been saying this. Most of what you're saying, Kevin, we've been saying, and I'm certain that you have been communicating this to others, but they're not moving. So I guess we're going to have to take the bull by the hand and do it. Right, Nadine?
As a friend, all the time, the politicians in the trenches can't see past them nose. No matter what you talk to them going back to them little echo chamber.
But they are not the ones who are supposed to make that information, that decision, though. They need the information about how the party communicates or how the government communicates should be a strategic.
Who is in charge of the government communication, Nadine? Who is in charge? Who is in charge of JLP communication or government communication? No, Mr. Andrew Holness has to empower somebody. Andrew Holness. Andrew Holness has to empower somebody.
By the leadership of
Andrew Holness has to empower somebody.
Having taken the decision, you then say, how do we move it from decision to reality? How do we people it? How do we resource it? How do
you get a good council? You appoint good people to the council.
Well, you know the good thing is though, guys, I believe that the government have heard. And it seemed to me, because based on what we have heard, Kevin, it would be fair to say that they would have picked up on most of what you're saying. And it seemed to me, we not see it has not yet, but based on what is projected, putting in a council and Nesta being removed from communication, or Nesta remove himself from communication, freeing that spot up. So really and truly, they are separating the government communication from the party's communication, which is what you guys are saying. So that has been done. Putting together a council now, that and my thinking is that
empowering it.
Yes, will be given the power to say to persons, you do not release anything. That has been said, you know. And you're correct. I've heard that before, Kevin, in circles that are very close. But that has never been done. You think Nesta could call certain minister and ask them what they've done in their minute? They're not game.
That is the point. And Andrew Holness has to empower that council. If you not put a council together, would have the power. The same thing back to square one. Anyway, my closing message to JLP again, where I started. Listen to the people. God knows why them dawdling with for the emancipation holiday and the national icon. Maybe you guys can push the campaign for that. I have a personal vested interest. I believe if you get that 4-day emancipation weekend, you can create the world's greatest 12-day party. You have Reggae Sumfest last weekend in July. You have Dream Weekend in the Grill. Then you have a massive Jamaican Culture Street Parade in Kingston. Can be as big as Trinidad can.
That's another product. That's another tourism product right there, Kevin. I hope they're listening.
Yeah.
To you. That's
true. That's a good sell.
Yes. And we're gonna echo it. We're gonna echo it.
Hello?
Not in your
Probably we
party
can get
chat.
Republic.
And
Probably
I
can
believe
get
when we're
Republic
talking
them
about
there.
it, I've written in articles about it, and nobody
Yeah.
will take it up from me.
Kevin, send us the
I want
article,
people to
man,
talk about
please.
it. Everybody says they love the idea, but nobody will talk about it publicly.
Send me
And I
the
can tell you,
article,
hold on
Kevin,
now. I can tell you this. All the business people are in favor. I talk with the business people. They're all in favor of it.
Can you imagine business people agreeing to give people time off with pay? Eh?
No, but it's
Unheard
the same 2 days, you know, but you just put it in one weekend. It's the same principle, you know.
Yeah,
You don't say the first and the sixth. You leave them as a commemoration days as critical, but you make the holidays the Friday and the Monday to transform summers in Jamaica. Independence will become 10 times as big. You know,
Yes.
Canada have Caribana celebration.
Yes.
Every Jamaica Independence Day, the weekend, they get 1.5 billion people.
But Kevin, why can't they do this for
1.5 billion. Them thief our culture. Them thief our culture make and get me 2 million people to come. And we are dawdling at Jamaica.
Well, let me ask you this, Kevin. Is it impossible for us to do it now for this independence?
Talk to the government, pressure them, ask them publicly, Babs and Andrew, wanna wait for the poll that the people want it. Wanna wait for, listen to the people. Watch Hold On with the Icons. Listen to the people. Simple as that. Government and listen to the people. Hold on now. Andrea Merkel, right? The best leader of the last 20 years worldwide, in my view. Right, Nadine? Woman, right? Woman power. They said she took polls and everything and took them as gospel. She polled everything and the polls are something. You think if she say a poll that 62% want this, 26 against, she do it right away.
Yeah.
That is what the kind of leader I want. Listen to the people on the wholeness. Rate you, but you can do better.
Listen, with the indication of putting together a communications council, with what he did with the budget, it tells me that he's listening. No, I am hoping, because we have about 400 persons watching this program now, and I guarantee you that the Prime Minister will listen. And we are going to send the article. We're going to send the letter.
Beg you. Listen, I'm gonna send a lady who called me this. I'm gonna send her my articles I've written on the polls. They're gonna push it.
Yes.
Put some turpentine under the government tail.
Because we
put
agree
some
with
turpentine under the tail.
A lot of people in the comment section is agreeing with it, so we have to run with it. I think we have the power to do it. Not in your part in chats.
The government need to understand the difference between communicating from the government and communicating from the party. And they need to develop a strategy for communication, and they need to recognize that good leaders tell good stories. And it's just a series of storytelling you're engaging. And the storytelling is about resonating with your audience, right? You know, in Jamaica, we have a story. Miss Lulu used to have a storytelling tradition where at some point you call out to the audience and the audience answer back. So you have to keep checking into the people who are hearing your story. May I say something? You get what may I say? No, you may not get it. Yes, me get it. All right. You know, that is the tradition of storytelling we come from. We are people who like to be a part of the performance on the stage. So Kevin is right. If you are polling and if you're getting feedback, you must use the feedback. You must use it for then find other ways of telling a story, and know that we are in an age where people are becoming more appreciative of face-to-face communication. Not big communication like you run go have the party have to have different kinds of communication. So near election time we're gonna have some big what you call them? Big campaign party in the town square. But leading up to then, from now, we have elections next year. From right now, we are make sure that we're communicating with everybody. Everybody is going to get this story. Every weekend, every week, wherever, it's not just the workers in the party we're going to talk to. We want the MPs to be going to every school.
MP and councillors, MP, councillors, caretakers, go down to the level.
Yeah,
go to the level of the councillors, the community, the council.
Yeah.
You know that's tough. That's their job. Their job is supposed to get the party line, you know. But give them the narrative. The PNP gives their people the narrative, and the JLP does not give its people the narrative.
It
So what I'm going
doesn't
to
give
say?
people a narrative. It doesn't craft a narrative and give to people. And it has to recognize that it has to stop responding to the
That is it.
PNP. The PNP it sounds defensive. Good leadership doesn't get into this mode of being
That is right.
defensive.
You're the
You have to
government.
let
You
some
set the
you
trend.
have to let somebody story them make them drop, but you have to also make sure that your story is out there and your truth is out there, which is it can relate to whatever them saying, but it shouldn't be in response to, because what it means is every time you go to communicate, you're only responding to what people are putting it out there. That
Yeah.
is reactive and defensive. Nobody wants a party or wants a
I
government
think
that
it's
is
an
reactive and
appeasement. I think
defensive.
it's an appeasement thing, you know. Because if you
Huh?
look at what percentage of Jamaicans hate, dislike Warmington, but we appease the removal because a few people feel a little.
Listen, Warmington got the most votes in the last general election.
Yeah.
He got the most votes. No, he had to resign this last time. I've always said ignore Warmington, but this last time he was
Him
anti-democratic.
as a
Was
You
wrong.
cannot tell a man who's been elected by the people, you not give him resources. No, he was totally wrong. This time he had to
Warmington is
resign.
our own goal.
This was not just fierceness, this was anti-democratic.
He should have just stay quiet.
Yes.
No,
It is our own
once he
goal.
said
He
it,
shouldn't say nothing.
he had to resign or be fired. You cannot be anti-democratic in a democracy. You can't come
Well,
tell
I
me say this
think-
man is
I think-
elected by the
I think he did
people.
the right
I mean, I know they give him state resources. That is against all tenets of democracy. He rightly was forced to resign.
Never said state resources, but you know we can slice it and
It
dice
is
it
state
all the
resources.
while.
Taxes are state resources, boss. State resources are taxes. He was duly elected, the PNP man. Are you saying I'm going to give him state resources? That's anti-democratic. He could not stay, and the owners had to fire him. Don't defend that one chopper. You cannot defend that. That is indefensible.
Yes. Anyway, Kevin, it was nice. I appreciate it. I hope you'll come back again. But I need that letter because I'm going to
send you
push
the
for it.
article and the
These
poll.
are very
I'm going to send
simple
the lady.
Yes.
The
Yes.
article I wrote and the polls that this based upon. The polls are
Yes.
clear what the people want. Andrew Holness, if you don't do them things and you lose, me have no sympathy for you. Who can hear much speak? When the people tell you what they want, you know, give them. And then if they vote
Yes.
you out, them right. Not more than that. But
bear
I
in
mean,
mind,
it's
what I
not
started out at the beginning is that how they are engaging is different. They're doing things a little differently. Not much,
Yes, I seen it too. I
but
saw
a
it
little
too.
differently. And look at the impact that is having.
Just for that short period.
Just for that little
Yes,
uncoordinated intervention
Yes.
that is
Yes.
coming from, Dana
Oh, they are
Morris.
breaking stuff down.
mainly.
They're-
But look at
yes.
the impact that is having.
Right. So can you
Well,
imagine
I'm
if this
telling you this.
stuff
Hold on.
was
I am telling you this. I'm not a JLP or a PNP person. But when Jamaica does well, I want our stories told.
Yes.
I like to hear my country doing well. I like to hear it talked about. My country doing bad, I'm going to criticize it. I want to do better. But when we see good news from a country doing well, record low unemployment, debt to GDP ratio has plummeted, high minimum wage, low police brutality vanishing, political violence vanishing. I want my stories of my good news. I've heard my life. I hear pure negative news. I've never heard about good news about Jamaica, and I want it to be spread in Jamaica and abroad. As a Jamaican,
Yes.
why wouldn't I want to hear good news about my country? And it changes the mood. The more good news we hear, the better we feel, and it can get a snowball effect. That narrative of negativity can be done away with. Let me ask a question. Apart from the violence, when was the last negative story about Jamaica, serious negative story? Take out the violence, which you know has to be dealt with. You don't hear no debt, you don't hear no financial crisis, you don't hear no political violence, you don't hear no unemployment out of control, you don't hear we're going to go bankrupt because of the debt. No bad news. When last had there been a demonstration in Jamaica of significance? We don't demonstrate because don't they demonstrate about? Our democracy is one of the healthiest in the world. You tell me a scenario of getting a non-democratic change of government in Jamaica. You're going to have a quote up park camp. You get a quote up park camp. Vibes Cartel and come out and lead a revolution. They're going to shoot, they're going to bomb out Garden House. They're going to assassinate our politicians. Not good, I know, I mean, never know. But none of those things we see as even possible in Jamaica. We have one of the stablest, most healthy democracies in the world.
True.
That's
We must be
true.
proud of it. Celebrate
We're all in our country.
the
People
fact that
not
Jamaica is
considering,
transforming before our eyes.
yeah,
Jamaica is
people
transforming
not
now.
considering any other alternative but
Hmm?
a democratic
Jamaica is
alternative.
almost, Jamaica.
People trust the electoral process. People,
Listen,
we are
we
okay.
are.
We have the basics down pat, you know. We have the basics down pat. We have a
We're a
good
model.
democracy.
Nadine, we're a model to the world.
Yeah.
We're a model to the world. We are one.
And when
Remember,
you
blunt
look at,
about it. We're one of the few.
and when you look at,
We are one of
when
the
did
few
we
non-white
become
countries where democracy
independent?
works beautifully.
When
Eh?
did we become independent? We became independent in
62 years.
1962. The countries that we are
We are a
comparing
political
ourselves with
miracle.
have a tradition of independence, 100 odd,
Hundreds
200
of years.
odd and so years.
We
Those are the
We're
are a
part of the
democratic
democracy.
miracle. We are a
Yeah.
democratic
But look at,
miracle.
but Kevin, look at and Nadine, look at the economic recovery after COVID. Jamaica being the
It's
best
a
in the Western
miracle.
Hemisphere.
The
Yeah.
IMF, did you ever see the Financial Times story about it?
Yes,
The
yes,
greatest economic miracle of our time?
But let me
yes.
tell you something, Kevin. I go to Montego Bay at a hotel, right? And I know I had seen Ed Bartlett telling a whole heap of stories about in Kingston about this pension for tourism workers and you know different things. And I go into Montego Bay, and one of the things I decided to do was to talk to the workers in the hotel that I was staying at and ask them if they know anything about them things. And you know them don't know.
There you go.
In the hotel.
The
Them don't
man Ed
know.
Bartlett say it. I think everybody here. Get your flyers
Them
on
don't know,
TikTok
you know.
and
I have to
Instagram.
be sending people to go sign up for the tourism pension
Well, let me
scheme.
ask you guys this though. Let me ask you your opinion on this, Kevin and Nadine. When the opposition, for example, comes out with a blatant misinformation or propaganda on an issue that relates to a ministry, and for example, the technocrats, the permanent secretary, know that what they are saying is incorrect, don't you think they have a responsibility to come out and clarify?
Yeah, but
Maybe
that
they
is
do, but
putting
they not
them
do
in the
it. So
middle
don't,
of
you
the
can't depend
political.
upon them. People
No, we're
lazy, you know.
supposed to.
People
Them
lazy.
can't do
If it's
that.
not in their self-interest, why should they? It's
They
not in their
can't do that.
self-interest. They don't care. Why should
They
they do
don't have a
that? So you do it.
responsibility. Kevin. They don't have a
Boss,
responsibility to do it.
But sometimes
listen,
some of
is
them,
it in my self-interest?
sometimes, no,
It isn't
Chopper,
about
don't,
self-interest, it's about your
Chopper.
responsibility.
But
Yes.
hear this now. Know this now. Know this. That they are not going to, because we've always had a situation in Jamaica where the people in the civil service or the public service do not engage. They are not going to. Even
But
if
that's
they
not a
lie,
policy.
and yeah, but they are not
Chopper,
going to.
how much years the country run? They've never done it. They're not going to start doing it. Don't not tell them what their
They're not going
responsibility.
to.
It has,
The political,
go back
the
to
government
Einstein.
machinery has to be
Doing the
so.
same thing over and over, expecting the same thing over and over.
Mm.
Or expecting the same thing and a different result when the same thing
They're
is going to be
not going
happening.
to.
You can't, no, it doesn't make sense to expect something you know not going to change. You may be morally right, you may be intellectually right, it don't make a difference, it not change. So don't depend on it.
So you say continue
But
fight from a different angle.
but
Yeah,
Chopper,
but as I say, you have to
let me
deal with
tell you
reality.
something.
You have to deal with the reality. You have to deal with
You
the
know
current
how
reality
you
you're dealing
know?
with, not fantasy.
You
Yes,
know how
Nadine.
you know that a party is in a significantly weakened position?
Yes.
Is how preoccupied they are with what comes from the other side.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Brilliant, Nadine.
If I were a Labourite, I would become nervous if it was that my party is complaining that the other side is not being fair to them. They're not supposed to be fair to you.
Exactly.
Politics is adversarial and people tell
It's combat.
liars,
Yeah,
true, and
it's a
tell a lie
hand-to-hand
to
combat.
suit them.
This is
Who
serious.
tell you to them
This
I
is
go be
serious part there,
polite?
Nadine.
Me I go see a little gap in here, so but we them now go no so it go
So
mind
sitting
you
down
want
and
business,
crying about what the PNP is doing and talking about the PNP
Precisely.
doing nonsense.
Precisely.
Mind
Precisely.
you want
Precisely.
business.
What you have to do?
Left them to tell them story. Politics
Yes,
is
go
blood.
and tell yours. Go
You
and tell
tell
No,
yours.
precisely. Precisely.
We are going on,
Precisely.
please. You're telling an unfair story and it's
Go and
impacting us
install your people
negatively.
in position that they can become effective
Foolishness.
campaigners for you.
Use some of them strategy.
Of course.
Learn from them and tell your story. This foolishness about complaining, they're just telling lies. No, and that's how it go. As
Oh,
so
boy, I tell
politics
you.
here in new country in the world you go, and that is how those are the rules they play by.
That is true, Nadine. That is
Allow
serious.
the people that make them tell their story, and then you go tell
That-
for your own.
That's a reality.
And they're using that as a beating stick,
That's
you
a
know.
reality.
However they want to use it, the show of your strength is when it doesn't matter. And when you hear it and you treat it like a mosquito, yeah. The show.
Well, the irony is the JLP has
when you
more.
go in a politically strong position is when you hear it and say, "Child, then can go on, then just a chat."
Well,
Listen, a weak government. A weak government with no accomplishments, right? If you're weak with no accomplishments, yes, you have to pay attention to the other person's narrative. If I'm a strong government with 1 million accomplishments, I tell my accomplishments, they'll speak for itself. I don't care what you're saying. My facts will speak for themselves. And that's where the JLP should be. My facts will speak for myself. Eh?
But you have to speak that, but you have to tell that fact.
Well,
You have to repeat it.
Yes. But the JLP in a position, they don't need to create no facts or imaginary stories or make up things. The facts speak for themselves. I've just told you 5 incredible accomplishments since 2016. Right?
Historic.
5 historic things, and there's plenty more. They just come out, they just jump out at me now, but there's plenty others, right?
Kevin, you know
And
something?
yet,
You said
you're
something.
worrying about propaganda from other side? No, man.
You
watch
said
this.
something that I think people don't recognize how manifestly how this didn't make any sense. The government has information that could say the Chief Justice blame out all the public officials who got a higher increase than the members of parliament.
Yes.
Jamaica raised that, and they did nothing.
I kept the JLP people I said, listen, pick out the 7 people, the big salaries. Politician, one of them, right? The same 7 point thing I told you. Do the flyer, the Instagram, the TikTok video. Hold on, I have to take a call here. Sorry.
Go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead, Kevin. I'll pull you off. Go ahead, Nad. Go ahead, Nadine.
Yeah, I'm just saying they did nothing with that information. They had the information. The information people like me could have eventually understand.
Your audio changed here, Nadine. Fix your phone a little bit. I think your audio
My
changed.
audio is changing. I hardly hearing you too. You hear me any better?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying that it's not because the JLP doesn't have a story to tell, or the government doesn't have a story to tell. It's because they stopped creating their own story and started listening to the opposition.
But Nadine, in that the case with the politician salaries, you had too many people talking. And let me tell you about Nigel Clark. Nigel Clark is the best finance minister in the history of Jamaica. I believe he could be well be the best finance minister in the world. But I'm up there. If I'm not number 1, I'm in the top 5 or top 10. But he gets carried away with himself sometimes. He got carried away with himself in that political thing. I would not let a proper narrative be told. He was all over the place talking, and he does not understand the community with the common man. He's an intellectual. He's a professorial. He loves the big words. That is his milieu. They needed to craft something the common man on the ground could hear, but Nigel Clark was the only voice talking. And I'm telling you, people on the ground don't understand him when him talk because the words them too big.
You know what you say is important, because you want Nigel to talk how Nigel talks. Because Jamaicans also
yes, but talk to your audience, Nigel. You talk to the uptowners. Let me craft a narrative for the downtowners.
Exactly. You need somebody else to craft a message that people will be able to relate to and understand readily.
Communications are under wholeness. It boils down to you. If you can create a proper communication structure and your party get vote out, your fault. Simple as that.
Let the other people them alone and cut the people that want to go back in the power. What do you think them are going to do?
Of course, the PNP doing what they're supposed to do. The PNP is seeing JLP weaknesses, staying on message.
And you want to stay in power, so you have to do what you have to do.
Do what you have to do.
You can't. I don't blame the PNP for what they're doing. They're doing what I would do. The PNP is playing the opposition's game. You distract the other side, get them to start listening to you, and then stay upon message. And if you twist the facts, well, that's what oppositions do all the time. Don't complain, JLP. Don't tell this they lie. You lie when you're in opposition too. I can go back and show the JLP lies when you're in opposition, twisting the facts. That's how politics work.
Gentlefolks, this has been a very robust conversation. And I learned a whole lot. And I have to agree with you though. Because I'm one of those who complain to, you know. I said, boy, them lie. I mean, look at that. That's just a blatant lie. The opposition know better. They shouldn't say that.
Chopper, when you're in opposition, your man never create lie and twist the facts too. Be honest. Eh?
Of course.
When you have not in opposition, you know, you don't have things to, you don't have anything accomplishment, you know. So you have to create a narrative for yourself. And you got to twist facts sometimes. But the trouble is the JLP had it easier because the PNP had this accomplishments. No government has ever had as many accomplishments at this party. No excuse to get off message.
You open my eyes. You guys have opened my eyes a little bit because sometimes you get really synced into what they're saying and you're too much focused on them and what they're doing and you're not focusing on yours. So you're correct. I think the takeaway from this is that we need to focus on our message, tell our story, and repeat it over and over and over again.
There's a famous boxer. A famous boxer way back in the day, Sam Longford, way back in the day, a black boxer, famous. And he had a saying, he said, whatever the other guy wants to do, don't let him do it.
Just stop him.
Don't let him do what he wants to do. The PNP trying to dishonor twist facts. If you put all your facts out there, so them can't twist you. But exactly. You open the space for them to twist you. Yeah. But they do what they're supposed to do. I don't blame the PNP. They're doing what an opposition usually does. The JLP are ball like baby.
2-3 weeks they run with it and you not intervene and then all of a sudden you feel like
exactly. I go back to Bustamante. Look on, you go on the Wikipedia page. I go back to Bustamante. Go on Coral Gardens Wikipedia page. It still says, Bustamante says, bring me all Rastas are dead and alive and how Rastas were massacred and this and that. Total bullcrap. Has the JP tried to corrective that narrative? Them one leader? We remember Bustamante? No. The JLP needs a lesson narratives.
Well, we got it tonight.
You either create a narrative or you follow a narrative. If you're not
correct the truth. Listen, the best narrative is truth, you know. The best narrative is truth.
Exactly.
Yes. And if you have the truth, if you have the truth and facts on your side, them can't trouble you. Well, and the JLP has the accomplishments on their side. Tell the facts. That PNP doing their job, JLP is not. Where cost PNP for? Them doing what they're supposed to do.
Over the last 2 years,
yeah, I'm not done that, Kevin.
Beat the JLP at the communication game. Beat them. They have
and it comes back to Andrew Holness. Andrew Holness must know him. Social media pages are great, but they're not enough. He seems to have the impression my social media pages are there. I'll tell it there, everybody here. It no goes to Andrew.
You are spot on. I think a couple persons want to ask some questions here. Let me just drop the link in the.
The volume gone low though, Chopper. What happened? The volume gone low.
I don't know if them.
From me all night. We barely are here.
Yeah. I don't know what happened there.
No, it was loud before, but it get weak all of a sudden. I don't know why.
I don't know what's going on there.
That's why you see me have to put the phone.
Seems like them bug us. I don't know. But the link is in the chat.
Go on.
If you guys want to ask,
I leave you soon here. I have to leave soon.
Kevin's gonna be okay. Yes, these guys are gonna be out in a few. Yes. Way longer than I thought, but I appreciate you. The link is in the chat, guys. If you guys have a question for Kevin or Nadine, go ahead and shoot. They only have a few more minutes, and we don't have this all the time, but we are happy because it tells us that these guys are connected at the local level. They are connected at the local level. And my friends over on TikTok, you're not left out, you know. So if you have questions, please go ahead and shoot.
Yes, good night.
Good night.
Yes, I have a question.
Talk loud, can't hear much.
I typed it in the comments.
Yes.
But I didn't hear anybody comment.
What was the question?
I wanted to ask Kevin.
Yes.
Don't you think that the pay raise had an impact
A positive or a negative impact?
Yes.
So she's asking if you
Hello?
think the pay raise has an impact, Kevin. Has any impact? The pay raise that the public sector workers got.
Yes, because people were saying how they get so much for their pay raise.
Well, the PNP, the JLP, the PNP ran in an argument. Only the politicians get the raise, and the JLP didn't fight back. It had an impact because the public only talked about the politicians' raise and did not talk about the other people's raise because the JLP did not emphasize it to the people. So the PNP got the narrative they wanted and ran with it as a logical, as a sensible party would. The JLP left themselves wide open.
Okay, so you're saying that it had some.
As Nadine said, you tell the Chief Justice and the doctor and the principal them all get big salary too. And also that was the first raise of the politicians in about 20 years, you know. It's a whole raise piled into one. They did not explain that either to the people.
Weren't looking at that, you know. They were saying that people, because soon after that, you have persons come out and demonstrating, you know, saying
demonstrate
that,
what? 50 people out of 50 people from Citizens Advocate, the PNP people. That was no demonstration.
That was just 50
the PNP
persons.
crafted it as one. Yeah. 50 PNP activists.
yeah, but you had the unions, you know, they were saying that as well. So
Yeah, but the union shouldn't have even been a part of that discussion because it wasn't even a salary negotiation.
The truth of it is, you know, one of the things that Nigel said that I found this a little bit problematic is in terms of carrying the story of the raises, it was the of the increases, it was the union doing it. You know, he didn't want to do it because traditionally in Jamaica, when those things happen, when you're negotiating increases and salary adjustments, it's the union that does it. But because of the nature of this increase, he admitted that some members of the unions themselves, the leaders of the union didn't exactly understand it. I remember our unions negotiating blocks. It's not a wide-ranging what was happening across the public sector. It was what was happening with the doctors. And if you notice, some unions after a while never said anything. The teachers were upset because the teachers never understood their increase.
The principals got big increase.
You know, the teachers were very upset because here what now? You know, now teachers are quarreling. They don't want any principal to run for JTA president because they are upset because of the increase that principals got.
Yes.
And they figured that the principals negotiated better for themselves and didn't negotiate for teachers well. So teachers were upset because they saw what principals got. It's not so much that them never get a significant increase, and they just think that principals get a big increase.
But you're reiterating Nadine's point. The JLB should have crafted a coherent narrative and told the people. They did not. All those factors should have been taken into account in the JLP's narrative.
Even before the salaries hit their pocket, we should have expected that the PNP was going to play political
Every
football.
time the politicians get an increase, the public rebels. It happened in 1990, 2001 or 90 something. I've read about the history. Every time there's one, the public get vexed. There's a love-hate relationship of Jamaicans and politicians, you know. Right?
They don't like that.
So they should have known a pushback. They should have known the pushback going to come, but they should have had a narrative prepared. But Mr. Clark, I think, believed in his superpowers of communication. I can communicate to the people and they'll understand. Nigel Love is a finance minister, but you're not the best communicator to the masses.
To the masses, because it certainly will reach people uptown.
And the masses are who decide governments, not the uptown elites.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead, my dear.
Yes. They also said that the allowances that they used to get separate, that was not taxed. They put it. They didn't like that. They didn't want that. But you know how that go down. You know why it is important for it to be taxed. So if
I am a teacher and I am being paid, and let's say my salary when I get it is $200,000, but I get $80,000 out of it. With that wasn't taxed. It's emoluments and whatever. It's not emoluments. It's well, you just said it. It's special arrangements that didn't allow it to be taxed. You know what happens? When I retire, what my retirement is based on is what is non-taxable. And what was happening is Jamaicans were retired, Jamaicans in the public and civil service were retiring very poor.
Yes.
Yes, that is what that is what they were saying.
And that fixed that problem.
That fixed that problem.
Across.
Yeah. Alexander Schwack, I see you coming up.
Chopper,
You have a question? Go ahead.
Chopper, I believe you.
I have one question here for you.
No,
Kevin.
I believe
One
you.
person
I believe you. Bye. All right.
Yeah, man. All right, take it easy, Kevin. Thank you so much. Yeah, man. Alex, go ahead, my brother. Not hearing you. Go ahead.
I'm not hearing him.
Not hearing you at all either. But go ahead, Renz. You had a question, Renz? You had a comment? Nadine is still here with us.
I was just agreeing with the point.
Yes.
A lot of people didn't know the main reason that they had absorbed. Because I have people when I retire and I get pension. I spoke about it the other day.
Yes.
I see a customs officer getting less than 40,000 per month as their pension. Public sector people realize you don't see private sector employees complain about pension is only public sector. And because one of the that think on that cheat the government by not paying tax. And when you reach pension, on pay the price for it.
I guess most public sector workers, they plan.
But Nadine, I'm not gonna hold you hostage
Yeah.
any longer, you know.
And other expenses.
But take care of yourself and continue the discussion.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much, Nadine. We appreciate
right,
you
no
coming
problem.
to our way. Yeah, man. Thanks much. That was Dr. Nadine Spence and Kevin O'Brien Chan. Very, very good conversation there. I appreciate them coming through. And it speaks volume.
Agree with them talk about the whole public sector compensation.
Yes.
The parliamentarian. They make the PNP speak narrative.
Yes, yes, that's true.
Somebody like
That's true.
Dayton Campbell up on a platform and I talk about it. Dayton Campbell, who is now getting more.
Yeah, they were saying that they don't care about the people because if they said if they raise their 300% and there was still a negotiation for their raise. You know, they don't care about the people. That was what, they were saying.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
you know,
should have done it for bread and mouth.
whether we like it or not, you know,
Put in pan blast.
I think,
If that
Renz,
is the case, he should not have taken up his salary.
I think what Kevin had said and Nadine just now.
If you notice what happened, the Prime Minister had to bring down his salary.
Yeah, but hold on, guys. I'm gonna come back over to TikTok in a second. But hold on 1 second. You see what we can take. I just want to wrap up with my folks over here on YouTube, the folks on X, and the folks on Facebook. You guys have been great. Appreciate you guys coming through and supporting the program. We're going to continue this campaign. You know that little thing that the former senior superintendent says, this campaign is going to go on forever and ever. Well, we are going to continue every week. We can't rely on politicians to come out and tell the story. It's obvious that they're not going to do it. So we're going to have to form ourselves into different platforms as we are doing, support each other, and go out there and create the narrative. I appreciate you guys coming through. The folks on TikTok, Gene Sellers, Sitani, good to see you, my brother. Alicia, what's going on with you? Alicia Johnson, thank you for coming in. Elaine Graham, big up yourself. Good to have you. Carlene, who else we got? Charmaine, Maxine, the whole 9 yards. The number, the list is so huge. It's 500 persons about watching right now. We want to say thank you to everybody. Joan Violet, all of these folks, all the usual suspect. We call you the usual suspect because you're always on. Alexander Sweck from over in New York, big up yourself. My friends in Atlanta, friends in Georgia, big up yourself. South Florida, big up yourself. I hope you guys are not joining that. You know, that South Florida tea, right? My folks over on TikTok. So we're going to head over to TikTok where we're going to shell it. And my good friend who is creating a new wave on TikTok. New wave. Munchie, big up yourself. She is the new sensation. Chuck Finley, Rusty, Renz, Travi, all the folks who support our initiatives on social media, and some of the folks who may not get a chance to call the name, you know it go. But big up yourself. Thank you all for coming out. And hop over to TikTok. We're going to shell it. Stick and stay. Enough respect. See ya.
I have another question.